Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. All things Middle Earth here. Today I'm going to break down for you the actual math behind the energy system in the PBE test servers and how it compares to stamina currently in the game. Now, this doesn't take every single thing into consideration, and I'll explain that in a second. I've got a spreadsheet I'll have linked below for those of you who like to look at that kind of stuff, but I've got it pretty simplified, so even if you don't care about math, you can at least see what the differences are. So stay tuned. That breakdown's coming up in just 1 second. Okay, as is the case as usual on the channel, if I make a spreadsheet, it'll be available down in the description. If you ever need access to a spreadsheet you've seen in the video, just DM me on Discord too, because sometimes the descriptions get wonky. Try to keep them updated, but just in case, if you're watching this down the road and you want to see what's going on, this is the spreadsheet. So first of all, as you can see here, the total energy in PBE when the ring is fully upgraded is going to be 600. There's a bonus amount during this test period, but if this were to go forward like it is right now, and again, this could change, they could say we're doubling it, whatever. Right now, it is 600 at the max, and it takes 45 seconds to regenerate 1 energy. So if you do the math and crunch that from seconds to minutes to hours, to regenerate 600 energy is going to take you 7.5 hours. Now, if you go ahead and do some kind of quick math and you decide, you're making moves that cost 20 energy apiece, you can make 30 of those moves as you see over there. So again, back to the game really quickly. That would include marching, moving, sweeping, mind sharpening, rallying, and then some of the other ones here, long marching, quick marching, marshaling forces, extracting are actually more expensive. And then we have some like gathering that cost 10, clairvoyance is 1, and treatment is 1. So there's a lot of things here, and trying to factor in how ability points work is a little bit confusing, but just wanted to give you a base idea. You could make 30 moves that cost 20, or any combination of moves that equal up to 600, which is about 30 kind of moving, attacking, those kind of moves every 7.5 hours. Now, how the game currently is you have 150 stamina when the ring's fully upgraded per commander, and this is where it gets a little bit difficult because the commander stamina regenerates individually, and in PB it's just all one thing. So you got to kind of use your imagination here. But as you can see, it's 150 stamina per commander. It takes 181 seconds for 1 stamina to regenerate. And if you do the math, again, same exact math, factor in the minutes into hours, yada, 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 it takes 7.54 hours. So basically the same amount of time. We're looking at a very small difference here. They both take 7.5 hours. So 7.5 hours to regenerate your total energy needed to make about 30 moves, and 7.5 hours to regenerate total energy to make the max amount of moves on 1 commander. Now, obviously, most of us don't just play with 1 commander. So as your activity goes up and the amount of commanders you're playing with goes up, it gets much better for the current state. If for some reason you just wanted to play with 1 commander, or that was like how you like things, there is a argument for the PBE side where the fewer commanders you play with, if you don't path, you don't siege, you don't do anything except just like fight with 1 commander. But again, you need to connect to tiles and move to places and build forts. Like, you have to take all that into consideration. So again, with 1 commander, you make 7.5 moves in that same time period. If you move this up and you say, okay, I'm running 4 commanders as an example, that makes it equal 30 moves. So you could really roughly say PBE kind of allows you to use 4 commanders, but it's really not quite that, because again, you have to think you have ability points right now. So anything like mind sharpening or gathering or clairvoyancing or healing your troops or quick marching, all those things also take away from that. So it'll probably end up being less than 30, but just to give you an idea in comparison, it is about 30 each for commanders. So if you did want to see again what it would be like right now, if you're playing RP good, there are 37 commanders. Now, I don't think a lot of people use every commander in the game. I certainly don't, but for myself, I might use 5 or 6, and then I might cycle other commanders to path around. Definitely depends on how active I can be. I think on a good day, I could be probably closer to like 15. But on average, if I'm playing, like legitimately sitting down on my phone or at the computer, I probably have 10 commanders out, just, not too crazy. But 37 good commanders for good RP, you can make 227.5 moves compared to the 30. So obviously, you see the extreme difference here in what you can do, what the potential is you can do. Now, again, I'm not just saying, 37, this compared to this, because nobody's using all, okay, most people aren't using all 37, but just so you know, this is locked. PBE is locked. The potential is what it is right now with the values they have them at. If they lower them, that changes. But right now, the potential for movement for other commanders, for pathers, for siegers, for a lot of utility play, in addition to the fighting you're doing with maybe your, again, main 5 or 6, depending on who you are, the potential is very high. for RP good at 277.5. Now, if you're like me and you want to, your brain did not work as hard, it's about 9 times more moves you can make, the max potential moves. If we plug in the 33 from RP Evil, there's 33 RP Evil commanders if you're in that boat. You're at 247 at 8.25. And lastly, if you move up to non-role play, there are 70 commanders, so you put that number in right there, and the potential jumps way up. And there are 525 potential moves, which is 17.5, more than that. Now, again, I'm not just going to throw these numbers out here and make the argument that, oh my gosh, look, see, we can do a lot more now. I do think we can, but the average player is not using 70 commanders. That's absurd. Again, you got to think what you're actually doing. So again, for me, I'm getting ready to go into season. I'm going to gear up about 5 to 6 commanders to fight with that I'd like to have on the front lines, strategically using. And then in theory, if it's near my city or I have the fort range, ideally, I'd like to have a couple pathers, couple siegers. So you could say a really rough number might be 10, which in its current state would be 75 moves with 2.5 times more moves than this. But again, it's hard to factor in because there's so much to use energy for, whereas we're just talking about stamina. We're not talking about ability points here and the things you can do with those that won't take away from this. So again, I just wanted to present this to you guys so you can see factually at a kind of simple level what this is. Honestly, if you want to take this spreadsheet and go file, make a copy, you can make your own copy, and just right here it says how many commanders I'm using. Put in the commanders you're using here, and that might help you make a decision. If you're like, I only ever have 2 out at a time, can't do it, you might see that an energy system like this makes more sense. And again, with the formations, I understand why they've moved this system, but I just wanted to kind of illustrate how limited you are in potential, and it just depends on how active you want to be. So let me know down below if you guys like the energy change. Does it work for you guys? Is there a version of it? Again, we've got a survey going on. I'll link that down below as well. Please take that survey if you haven't already, because maybe for energy, it just needs to be extended by a little bit and then everyone will be happy. There'll probably be those super hyperactive players that will always like have a little bit of a loss. But I'd say for the general majority, and I consider myself very active, again, I probably won't be needing to use more than like 10 at a time. So I don't think the stamina would need to change that much, or the energy would need to change that much, but that's just me and how I like to play. So let me know what you guys think of the energy, and as always, I'll see you in a future video.